No, you don't have something the matter with your eyes, and no, the title isn't wrong. I dated a cannibal once, and I just decided I would come on here and tell you about it, so make sure to slam on the brakes because you're going to want to listen to this. So I'm going to do a little bit of a flashback, right, and I'm going to take you from the start, the middle, and the end, just basically how this entire thing happened, how I found out what happened, you know, how this guy even existed in the first place, and why he was even born, what his purpose is on this planet. So just be prepared. Okay, so let me do a little bit of a rewind to 2 years ago, right, when I was talking to this guy. And this guy, right, off the topic, right, I know I'm not really one to judge about looks because I can't really talk, but I'm not really one as well to judge a book by its cover, but this does apply in this situation, right? He had long hair, right, long greasy hair. It was a bit disgusting. Long greasy hair, right, and he just looked weird. He had the eyes, right, had like the protruding psychopathic eyes, and I was just like, okay, now this makes sense. I should have known that this guy was a weirdo, right? But when I was talking to him, right, because he kind of catfished me, right, because I met him on a dating app, and you know, he had short hair in the photo, and then I met up with him, right, but I still was like, I did think he was quite attractive, right, so I didn't really care about it, and I let my guard down, because the last thing I'm going to assume when I'm talking to somebody, sorry my hair's annoying me, is that they're a cannibal. Okay, so basically I was just talking to him, right, went round to his house a couple times, but every single time I went round to his house, he was just a bit weird, right? So it first started off where I got this idea that he was a cannibal, right, where he would start off biting me. So I'm not talking like sensual bites, like, I mean, he was like full on chomping at my arm, and I was just like, and a few times I had to tell him to stop, had to tell him no, right, because he'd actually like really start going into my arm and onto my chest and all that, and fully biting me, like wanting to get a taste of my flesh, right? And if you think that's weird, just wait till you hear this, right? And one day, right, he had a cat, and his cat jumped up, right, cut my arm there, right, just a tiny little scratch, but it started bleeding like quite a lot, and he grabbed my arm, slopped the blood up, right, completely licked up the blood, and then he started like going like, oh yeah, which was really weird. And then I just asked him, I was like, well, why'd you do that? And he said that he has a really good thing for blood, and he really likes blood, and he likes to taste the blood. And I was like, I wonder where you developed that from. You absolute weirdo. Then following a couple days after the blood arm situation, right, he kept sending me these video clips, right, from this movie called Tusk, right? So if you don't know what Tusk is, it's basically this movie about a guy that gets turned into a walrus. It's absolutely disgusting, right? And he'd send me it, and he told me to watch it and all that, right? Because in the video, the guy like cuts his legs off and basically makes a walrus suit. Disgusting, right? And then he had like an obsession with Hannibal Lecter, right? And he'd always talk about him, and his wallpaper like phone screen was Hannibal Lecter, and I was just like, okay, but it turned out he's a cannibal. I didn't actually know who Hannibal Lecter was until this, because obviously it makes sense. And then, right, one day he sent me the Funky Town video. So if you don't know what the Funky Town video is, it's basically like a Mexican cartel video, I'm sure. I think that's what it is. I can't really remember it. I didn't watch the full thing. I think it's when he stabs, like, oh, I don't know, right? And he said it made him hungry. Right, it made him hungry because it was that gruesome and like disgusting, and he said that that obviously stimulated something in his warped mind that made him feel hungry about it. I was just like, no, absolutely not, get me out of here. Actually no, I need holy water, I need an exorcism. I can feel the demons actually surrounding me right now as we're talking. Then it just gets weirder from here, right, because after that he kept going on about how human meat tastes like chicken, right, chicken and pork, and that it's like a really nice like tasting thing and all this type of stuff, and he'd make all these jokes about eating people and humans and all that, and I was just like, no, that's not even funny, because you don't joke about that. No sane person jokes about that, right? Until one day, right, ready for this. One day I went round to his house, right, had his computer open. I know the password to his computer because I knew the passwords to everything, because I did trust him, right? Blah, 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 went on it. You'll never guess what I found. I found, right, videos, cannibal videos of people eating humans, right? And he was downloading them and saving these videos of people eating humans, and he was sending them to people. I don't know if he participated in them, and if some of them was his like, him eating people, but I was just like, what the fuck? I was just like, no, absolutely not. And then basically I got my friend, right, because she's like really good with computers and stuff, to type him up, and he actually had a criminal record for trying, I think it was attempted manipulation of a human body part, which means that he basically tried to cut some person's arm off, and probably try and eat it. So I think that if I continued talking to him, he was going to make up a plan to probably, you know, me, and then probably eat me. So it's a bit traumatizing, but at the same time it's quite funny, because you know, you never come across something like this in the wild, you just see it in the movies. But moral of the story is if somebody starts, you know, liking the taste of blood and sending you the Tusk movie and the Funky Town video, then just leave them, because that's a cannibal, and he's still on the loose outside, because you know, I didn't have any evidence, so I couldn't charge him.